All right. Good afternoon and welcome. I guess good morning still on the West Coast. I know, Amanda, you're out there on the West Coast at a conference. So welcome to this month's MSP Success webinar series. I'm Jeff Johnson, the president of MSP Success Magazine. Happy to have all of you on today's call. Today, we're going to be talking a unique panel that we've got here is talking about vendors versus MSPs, what makes for a healthy channel relationship. And some of that is going to be like, why does this matter? Why does it matter that you have great relationships within the channel here? We've got a panel of experts that are on this call here that we've asked to join us on this unique call today. And I'm going to be turning it over to Kelsey here in just a minute to lead the discussion. But also we've got Michael Garrity here on the call. Michael is a cybersecurity sales engineer with CyberQP. We've got Amanda LaChapelle. Amanda's the VP of Operations from Before Networks. And then we also have Mr. Wayne Hunter, President and CEO of Avtech Solutions on here. And so some great minds that are on this call of looking at this from unique perspectives and all that have built great relationships within the channel. They're going to share with you some great insights on how you can do the same, what to do, why to do it, and how to angle that. But I'm going to turn it over to Kelsey here. Kelsey is going to lead this discussion. Kelsey's the channel development manager at CyberQP and always at our TMT and MSP Success events. So Kelsey, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, it's really exciting to be here today. We are really looking forward to this discussion. This is different and not something that anybody has really kind of brought MSPs and vendors together to talk about. So hopefully we add value and we have fun while we're doing it. So yeah, I don't know. Do we want to just jump right into it? We'll allow people a little bit more time to join. Jeff,
I think you're good. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
All right, let's get into it. So goal of today is just to have a conversation with each other and share our thoughts and opinions. So first question, specifically for Amanda and Wayne, what are some of the main things that you evaluate about a new vendor before you bring them into your stack? And maybe before we get into that, do you want to share how long that you both have been on the MSP side?
You want to go first, Wayne, or you want me to go?
Beauty before age. How about that?
So we've been an MSP. I run the company with my husband, and we've been an MSP for over 15 years. And I feel like my abilities in operations comes from many different things in my background, but where we kind of balance everything out is that I take care of the day-to-day things, and part of that is our stack and what vendors we're using and how we work with them. I'm a little bit more social than my husband too, so that actually works out pretty well in my favor. But yeah, our MSP, we deal with different verticals, some of them being greenhouses, some of them being engineers. So when we're looking for any of these types of solutions, we have a lot of questions to ask, which I've put Kelsey through that before, which is probably why I'm here.
I'm happy to learn, more of what y'all are looking for whenever, you're working with a vendor. I think it helps all of us help each other. Yeah.
Agreed.
Perfect. Wayne?
I approach it, I've been doing this for a long time, and I came from the enterprise space. So I'm what's called a value-added reseller, and I'm an MSP. So when you look at technology, we've always looked at it from a standpoint of I'm kind of old school to certain things. Is first thing I do is I ask them for their install guide and their admin guide, and we read it. We actually look at it, because if they can't document their technology to where my engineers, my staff, my salespeople can understand it and deploy it, then I have an issue, because that's going to lead to problems with support and other things like that. So, we look at that's the first thing we evaluate before we even talk about partnership, things of that nature. Then I look at their actual program, their channel program. Well, how's it work? How's it set up? How do they enable us to go to market and help us? And then we go through with that's all satisfactory, then we actually then put our hands on the technology into our lab. And if it'll pass our lab, then now we'll talk about becoming a partner. And it's we've used that process for many years. But we apply that not only to a managed services stack, but to any vendor. I don't care if it's HP, Dell, whoever it may be, we follow that process.
Yeah, when I think about the steps, what you were saying there, Wayne, actually makes a lot of sense to me. Like when we talk about the documentation, like one of the things that I noticed probably about 6 or 7 years ago was like there really wasn't a ton of training that would come with a lot of these products, and you just have to figure it out, and you'd spend forever, trying to get into the ins and outs of it. But the problem is then one person becomes that champion in your company, and then nobody else knows how to use it. So that's in our list of things that we go through. We're also looking at when we're talking about how things are structured, to your other point, is this scalable for the type of clients that we have? Or does it make sense for, this maybe the smaller companies? Is it only maybe it's not necessarily enterprise, but maybe more like that sweet spot of 50 to 100. Well, that does, if we have, more 20 or 30 person clients, and that doesn't really make sense for us, right? It has to kind of be scalable. And I feel like the relationship piece, as I highlighted before, is super important for us, because invariably in any type of business, there's going to be change, and there's going to be things that, they're going to want to do and grow. And if you can't have that feedback loop happening when they're going through that same process as their own business, then there's going to be misalignment, right? So you want to be able to have that constant communication.
Yep, 100% agree.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that kind of
wondering-
feeds into, oh, sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Sorry, I was going to ask, how has that evolved over time for you folks? I mean, Amanda, you said you've been in business like 15 years. I talk to a lot of smaller MSPs on a day-to-day, they're one-man shop, two-man shop, three-man shops. And, when you were that small of a business, a lot of folks are like, hey, they might not have the best documentation, but they have the best cost and they do what I want. Versus, I talked to some other one-man shops, they're like, oh no, I got a checklist of every single thing, security, documentation, and just wondering how that's also evolved for you.
Well, I think so. We kind of went through an interesting journey. We had an acquisition right in January of 2020, and we went from 7 people to 17 overnight. So for us, it's a bit different considering that scaling that you're talking about. 1 and 2 man shops definitely have a very different variable. When we were just talking about, that knowledge gap of learning a new product, that's maybe a little bit less of a hill to climb, maybe a bigger hill to climb, hard to say which one for sure, when you're a one-person shop, because you're doing everything, right? But then again, the problem is you're doing everything. So I think you'll find that those people that you're talking to are probably, you can see the mindset of whether or not they're going to be the ones that stay a 1 or 2 man shop versus somebody who's looking to, maybe grow and scale, are probably the ones that have the checklist and that are looking for how they can, make sure not to box themselves in.
I think an important piece there for the small shops is have that checklist, but get into a peer group of like-minded folks that use those checklists, are doing it, have the resources to do it, and get that relationship there. Because then there's a lot of us that are very mature. We've been doing this for 30 something years. And you've got the staff. I saw the giggle there, Amanda. I'll remember that.
It's because I knew you were trying not to say how long.
So it's getting that peer group. There's plenty of peer groups out there, but get in, find a group that works with you, that challenges you, but has a philosophy that's down there, and then leverage them. I mean,
Yeah.
We all started there somewhere, and we're willing to share. We do that every day, and that can help the small 1, 2 man shops be able to get that same level of vetting.
Yeah.
To move forward, and it really helps them.
Yeah.
Wayne, I think you skipped ahead a little bit there. You're on top of things.
Oh, really? I haven't seen the slide deck, so I have no clue what you're about to go to. So
I wasn't in charge of that.
because that's real wide statement there.
It is. Well, going back just a little
Kelsey,
bit before.
Hey, Kelsey, real quick, should we put out this poll question here?
Sure.
I'm kind of curious of what others that are out there watching use. Maybe cheat here now after you heard some of those answers, but I'm gonna launch this poll question here. So what do you evaluate before adding a new solution? I guess we missed the N on that solution there. So
You sharing that for me?
what's that?
Is that supposed to stay on the screen?
It will here for a second.
Okay.
We got people answering that right now. So partner program, product overlaps, integrations with the current security stack. So we've got those. I'll leave it up here just for, I know it keeps on, they keep on coming in here.
Yeah.
The big ones that I'm seeing, and I'll share it out here in a minute. ROI potential is a really big one, but then good partner program is another big one that I know we only allowed you to answer your number one out of this. So I'm gonna end this poll. Looks like it's slowed down here of the answers, and so you guys can see this of what was answered here. And so ROI potential being a big one.
Yeah.
Does that match up for you guys? I know you just answered it, but any thoughts on that?
It's on my list, but and I mean, as a business owner, it should be on your list. I don't think anybody would ever, do something. And I kind of think both Wayne and I said that, the way that they, put their product offering out there is important to us. But I think it can be the best product. It could give you tons of ROI, but if you don't have the relationship, if you don't have that ability to communicate what it can do, if you don't understand how to use it, like we've had products that we've taken on that I know they're fantastic products, but they had absolutely garbage training, and getting it to be able to be in a usable space was pointless. So the ROI is affected by those things, right? All those factors, kind of factor into that ROI calculation.
Taking time to market, you have to take that into account is how quickly it integrates into what you're doing, because obviously that's a great thing you have, is how's it integrated to your stack? How's it replacing something? Is it consolidating? If it's doing, how's that going to change your workflow? How quickly can you get that updated to where you can get to that ROI potential? So you got to take all those type of things in place, not just look at, oh, I can charge this much for it, and if I got this many people, I'm gonna make this much money. It's much more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes into one of the bullet points I have here, which is the difference between just having a vendor and having a partnership with a vendor. I think that's definitely what you both have hit on in that. Yep. Excellent. Well, if we don't have any other thoughts here, I'm going to pop to the next one.
For that, I did see a question come in. I'm not sure if we want to save those to the end, but Jeff Lamp asked, what peer groups do you recommend the MSPs should join if they haven't done so already? Figured since we were just talking about it.
So we do have a couple more peer group related ones 2 slides from now, if we want to save that.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a lot to say about that, so maybe wait till it's ready.
Perfect. Okay, so what are some ways that vendors can provide value to you post implementation? You've already bought it, you've already laid it out, you're trained. What then?
You go first, Wayne.
Oh, okay. MDF.
Yeah.
For those that don't know MDF, that's marketing development funds, because as a partnership, it's advantageous for both of us, the vendor and us, to actually generate money, make money together. So one of the things we look at that, how we go off and do this, we're going to use this, and we put up into, I do webinars, I do speaking engagements, I have booths at business events, just like vendors have booth. I'm a vendor at my clients' events and things. But when we go to market, we need to put those things together and be able to promote those things. And so one of the first things I evaluate in that partner program piece is, what do they do to enable me? Marketing development funds is the very first thing I look at, and how are they going to get involved in that marketing activity? Because that's how we get out there and get it to it. It's not just about putting the product to our existing clients, but how they're going to enable me with their technology, with their program, to go get the new logos and add in to my environment.
Love it. Yeah.
For me, so I guess it depends on how you segment the after you bought it, right? Because sometimes people will say, it's the signing of the contract, but in reality, the onboarding, can sometimes take a long time, because the onboarding is understanding how to utilize the product and then getting it actually out there onto your client's systems, whatever that might be, right? So what does that look like? That value for me is huge. Having that support, as you take it and not just feeling like, oh, great, we've signed the contract and it's done. And, that's it. They're not going to do anything with us. Kind of goes into the same thing I said before. I'm probably going to say it multiple times to my different answers, is that relationship is important, because the feedback loop needs to be there too. For my major vendors that we're dealing with, I know where they're going. I know what's on their roadmap. I have a chance to be able to ask questions. I'm able to have that feedback with them and understand, what they see in their future. Kind of like Wayne was saying, in terms of the investment of putting into, us growing our business. We need to know where your business is going too, so that we need to see if it still aligns. We need to see how that works out. Because if we both grow, then we both benefit from it, right? So I think that, I guess that I'm looking for a word and I can't think of it, which is not very common for me, but just that idea of, that we both succeed together.
A symbiotic relationship.
There we go.
Definitely not what you were going for, but
no, but there was a word, but I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, I will say, so I actually recently tallied it up. So I've been in this industry for only 3 years now, but I have done 83 trade shows in that time. And one of the really cool things I've seen grow here within this company, but also just like that a lot more MSPs ask for at shows, is help with onboarding, like you were saying. I had a guy who knew all of it. He's not here anymore. Now none of us touch it because none of us know anything about it. And something really neat that I've got to see grow here is having our own success team. So we're able to actually be like, yeah, we can help you. You have someone dedicated to this who is happy to answer your questions. You build that relationship in that way, and you always have someone you can go to whenever you have a problem. And I think that's really neat and definitely a value that not everyone offers.
Well, the support piece is important too, right? Like you get support at the sales booth. I mean, that's a pretty easy thing to get. Any company that wants to grow is going to do that. But when you have a problem, when there's an issue and you have a question, I think somebody in the chat was talking about it, like how quick, can you get an answer to whatever it is that you're looking for, whether it be on how the product works or something that you've run into, whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah, totally. I've
Amanda,
found,
how do you figure that out in advance? Like in the sales process, everything seems great. And then you're a customer, and then now you can't get anyone on the phone.
Well, I don't know though. I don't know if I've ever run into a situation where I ended up having a problem with a vendor where I would say that the sales process was great. I mean, that's a terrible thing to say, but I do actually think that how they're able to connect you. I don't know if it's okay if I shout out somebody specifically, but I'm going to do that. When we were first going with Ninja, we had our sales like meetings and walk through the demos and whatnot. And it was actually Sal himself. That's how long we've been that was in our sales call, right? And when we had a question, he pulled in one of his lead engineers that helped build the thing that we were asking about. And he said, let me show you this, right? How somebody handles the sale will tell you a lot about what you can expect later, right? So I feel like you just have to be looking for the signs when you're going through that process, because it's kind of like Wayne's checklist, right? If you have this arbitrary list of things that you're thinking about, like, okay, if the person, has great eye contact, if they're able to give me the answers to the questions, it means they're knowledgeable and the company's supporting them. Like, there are ways to look within the sales process to look for what you're talking about, Jeff. And anybody I've kind of had like a question mark over and we've gone ahead and done it anyway, usually one of two things have happened. Either they've lost the sales staff that we dealt with that was amazing, or it was one of those things where I shouldn't have gone ahead and done it, and I knew it. Just something about it spoke to me, right? So yeah.
The other thing that goes into that, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, Kelsey, but when we talk about the peer groups and things of that nature, there's also events like I go to, not only the stuff I'm doing at TMT, but like in the channel company, and I go to exchange events and things of that nature. You sit in the boardroom. Well, I get to sit in a boardroom for 3 or 4 days with a group of folks. I'm on their board and I run the boardrooms. But even before, when I was just joining, is you got 12, 15 of us MSPs from all over the country sitting there, and we get to talk with each other about these things. And you get like, hey, I'm looking at this new product line. Who's in here is using it? There's usually always 1 or 2 in there, and you're getting feedback from different things. So it's always not only from the vendor, but anyone you can reach out. We all have contacts. We all know people that are doing the same business we are. pick up the phone and call. I do that all the time. I've made relationships. I go on, I hit them up on LinkedIn or email them or call them, say, hey, I'm looking at this. I know you're using this. Give me some honest feedback here and come in. And that's a good way to do it. If, learning at the initial part, Jeff, to answer your question, is you got to use all the tools in your bag, relationships, everything like that, to do that analysis. And that's really the best way to do that when you don't have a way to go test it and find out if their support's going to be good or not.
Yeah, I love that. We have definitely found that, utilizing those boardrooms and the advisors of them and finding our partners in those situations, MSPs listen to other MSPs and really value, you've been there, you've been in that process. Like, yeah, let me hear your experiences.
It's important to get more than one, though. Like, you can always find somebody who is jaded by something small. So you got to really crowdsource that.
Crowdsource it, absolutely. That's just like in TMT with our producers club, and we've got a group there, but not only the group I have in my team that we have, but everybody else I get to associate with, plus all the new members coming into there, those peer groups. I get the advantage of that, plus all the other ones you're going to. So peer groups, I know someone was asking about is you just got to search, start asking relationships. Who are they doing? What are they doing? What's working for them to find some of that?
Yeah. Jeff, you got a poll question for this one?
I had, I don't know if it's related to this one. Let's go ahead and go to the next question.
Okay. This one's going to be a fun one. How important is it to involve yourself within the community, peer groups, having relationships with vendors, and how have you seen value from that?
Ooh, well, we're longtime Robbins members. I don't know how long Wayne's been a member, but we've been a member since 2009. So pretty long. We super value being a part of that community. I think, though, the one thing that I've learned in the last 2 years is that it's important to go out and get more than one community. I think, Robin's a great example of somebody where if you go to her events, you will learn a ton about marketing. And if you don't learn something about sales, then you're not paying attention to how Robin works, because just going to any of her events is a masterclass in sales. She just watch what she does. And then I've really had to think about, well, I'm learning about sales and marketing, but there are other aspects to running a business that you need to learn about, right? So on the finance side, I've had some interaction with the MSP Ignite crew. They're fantastic. Steve's great. Ashley's great. And having that ability to sit in a room in a small group is really great. And then on a weird side, and I think Kelsey knows where I'm going with this next, is in the last year, I've had the chance to get to know those in the MSP Geek community. And wow, I mean, that has been a life changer for me. I think that represents the technical side of things. It's great to have, the business mindset that I get at Robin, and, the other fellow ownership support that I would get at something like MSP Ignite. But having the technical side of things, especially when we're talking about tools, and you were talking about, Wayne, about crowdsourcing, there's nothing like talking to a bunch of other techs that have used these products more than the business owners, because they're not the ones interacting with it, and, getting their opinion on a usability of a product. So yeah, I mean, I would say join as much as you can and many places as you can, because you're going to hear a lot of different voices, and one of them will fit. One of them will feel better. One of them will feel like the most like you.
Exactly. And the interesting part is, because I belong to several.
Yeah.
Also, there's the side of all the information coming in, the amount of communication you get, because you got to be prepared when you get into a peer group and you start communicating with each other. And matter of fact, one of my guys is on there. I saw him, Darren. Hi, Darren. It's, he hit a question this morning about backup recovery. And within just a few minutes, he's getting feedback from all of us that is part of his community, giving feedback. What's going on? Why this? Why that? So within just a few minutes, you're getting that information. But the biggest thing I'd say is just joining a peer group is one thing, but you've got to be active in it. You've got to share just as much as you get. Okay. What I found is, and anybody that knows me is, you ask me, I'll tell you how I do everything. It does not bother me. I'm not worried about competition and stuff like this. I got one of my members that I can literally throw a rock from my corporate office and hit his. Okay. But we never ran into each other until we was in a peer group, right? It's just one of those things. So, but when I share and give ideas and talk about how I do pricing, how I sell, how I upsell, how I carry a sales meeting, any of that stuff I share, I get just as much back, but more.
Yeah.
So that's
I
the
think
thing you
what
got to
Wayne's
be really
saying
doing.
too, like that sharing piece isn't just important for you, it's also important for the other person. There are a lot of people out there that are pricing things incorrectly, that are not covering, they're calling themselves an MSP, and that really shouldn't be attached to the way that they're doing business, to be honest with you. I'm kind of frank that way, but and so, when you teach someone else, you're raising the entire industry as a whole. And it can't be something where you turn around and say, yeah, I'm going to not do that because it might help you. But the reality is, if somebody's going to do business better, right, like it's going to help the entire industry. When we have people out there that are, not as knowledgeable, that are calling themselves an MSP, their people don't know, your clients don't know. They're going to equate you to them, right? So they judge one book by the other. And unfortunately, I wish it were different, but that's the reality that we live in. So we have to make sure that, we kind of all help each other do the best that we can. Because one MSP, let's say, for example, on the cybersecurity front, since I'm right at boom, one MSP being, a vector for attack is putting all of us in that same bucket, right? So we want to really try to help everybody out.
Hey, I'm curious from a different angle on this, is that, there's definitely on the peer group side of things, but when you talk MSP community, a lot of that also is the channel vendors that are out there. And I see a lot of successful MSPs. I think Amanda and Wayne, you were two of them that are involved in this, that you do get and have relationships with people that are at the vendors. It's not just like a business relationship of where you have these personal relationships. Like why is that? What does that do additionally for you and when you're running the business?
Well, it's the word partnership, right? Think about that. Partners, two people. That's why I always look at it and come into it is, and the only way our partners can help me is they understand me. And the best way I can utilize the partner is I understand them. And that channel manager, that, I try to make relationships all as far as they'll let me get into, from development to sales to marketing to the CEO, whoever I can get a relationship with, I'm going to have a relationship with, because the better I understand where they're going and better they understand me and what my intentions are as a partner, the more they share, and just the same as I'm going to share. And then they can see, I always get in the conversations about, go back to the MDF, is it's one of those things is, if they don't have a relationship with me and they don't understand that I'm going to bring them value, same way as this, then they may just give me $1,000 MDF. But if they understand my business and what I'm doing, I'm truly doing something, then I may get $5,000. If I have a problem from support and it's not being responsive, and I pick up a call and say, hey, Kelsey, I really need some help. Can you run the back channels and help me on this? I get help like
Yes,
that.
sir.
Okay. So it's all about relationships. I mean, you're going to let somebody, I always go to the analogies. Okay. You meet somebody on the street, you say hi to them. Are you going to let them in your house 5 minutes later? Or you want to know something else about them before they come into your house and you welcome in there? So you got to think about it the same way you want to be treated from that relationship. And I always tell everybody, you tell me your rules of engagement, I'm going to follow them explicitly. You tell me I'm doing it wrong, I'm going to tell you to fix your rules. No, so it's that relation. And right off the bat, I get that laugh from the vendors, but I just made a relationship.
Yeah.
They understand where I'm coming from and what my intentions are. And I think that's the biggest place that some MSPs, they don't really think about it that way.
Well, I think they're always worried too. There's a lot of people that are worried about being sold again, right? Like, are you just going to have this relationship to be able to give me something else? But the reality is, any good vendor in the channel wants to be talking to their partners on the regular. I can probably list like some of my favorite vendors: CyberQP, Roost, like Ninja, all of these people. when I go to their booth, they never make me feel like I need to leave because they're trying to make another sale. They're trying to ask me how I'm doing with the product. They're like, what's the onboarding like? Like, where are you at with this stage of the development? You know, how are you finding your account manager? They want to understand, you know, if things are working out for me as well. And, you know, if I didn't have that relationship, if I didn't have that friendship, I mean, I don't know if we would be able to be as vulnerable as we need to be sometimes, because it can be awkward to have some of these conversations, right? You know, I had a recent issue with one of my favorite vendors, and I won't say who, but I'll say that there was an issue. And the account manager we were assigned to was not, they were not a bad account manager. They were just maybe speaking in a way that I don't necessarily fit with. And the way they were communicating with me didn't sit well with me. So I just reached out to somebody out there that I had a relationship with because I met them at the booth, and I said plainly, this person doesn't need to be punished. I just need a different account manager. And I got assigned a new person, and then I was able to work out an issue that I was having. I don't know that I could have done that if I was a faceless person that hadn't connected with them at the booth, right? Like, you can't ask for that kind of access to information, or, you know, understanding of where someone's going, or for whatever you need if you don't have a relationship. Otherwise, it's just too transactional, and people don't like doing business that way. They want to feel like this is back and forth, and there's a trade back and forth. So for me, I kind of look at it as it's a good investment of my time. And besides, I have to say, some of the best vendors have some of the best people, and so it's really not that hard to spend time talking to them. So
Yeah, I sat through a fireside chat by Mr. Rob Ray himself a few years ago, and one of the things that has always stuck with me, and I hear it all the time now, is that people buy from people that they like, and they can't like you if they don't know you.
yeah.
But I also, in the sense of caring, you know, I have become friends with both of y'all. Honestly, that's how you luckies ended up on here today. I was realizing I have photo booth pictures with both of y'all up on my wall here in my office, Halloween and IT Nation with each of you. You know, like Amanda and I have talked to Taylor Swift, and Wayne, I
have friendship bracelets.
Yes. I got upgraded to first class on my birthday and got to spend that flight right next to Wayne on a flight home once. So, you know, when y'all have an issue or you come up to me with just like a little bit of a question, it's even more important for me, where I'm just like, I'm messaging everybody. I'm like, somebody needs to get the fix. This is my friend. Like, we got to make it better for them. So it adds that sense of, you know, my heart's in whatever your problem is too, on my side of it. You know,
It makes it sticky too for vendors, right? Like, it's harder to leave a vendor. You're more likely to work out. So it's like, if you have a problem with something, you're going to walk away a lot easier if you don't have those relationships, right?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Not that I would, but
no, I mean us as like MSPs. I mean, we're more likely to switch,
yeah.
you know, if we don't have that relationship, to have that communication.
Absolutely.
And that's the case that's even with your clients too.
Yeah.
Your MSP clients, if they don't have a relationship. And I want to know though, tell the truth, Wayne, you talked Taylor Swift also on that flight, right?
Well, of course. Whatever conversation we want to have, we can talk. You know, I know who she is, you know.
Wayne's a girl dad. It's fine.
That's right.
All right. You got another poll question for us? I don't think I can open. I don't know. Just because I'm sharing my screen, it's weird. Does anybody else want to read one of the questions that's coming through? Make sure we're hitting them.
Let me see what we got here. So we still have the one around the peer groups. Do we have another slide on that, Kelsey, or?
No, this is it.
Okay. Yeah, so here, why don't I actually launch this real quick, and I can do this while you're going to the next one, I think, is just what MSP or channel communities are you a part of? And this is an open form question, so just type in what you've got. And as we're getting through this next slide here, I'll go back on that and be able to share it out with you. So Jeff, you can get some of those responses.
As far as, you know, the different communities and things of that nature, and you start, the question was, you know, what kind of peer groups? I mean, obviously Amanda and I are both in TMT. You know, I started in January 2021 and quickly progressed up through TMT, just because I'm one of these, if I commit to something, I'm going to go off and do it. And we're in, and it started off at accelerators, and there was a group there, and you can often do it, and there are peer groups there. So everything's built within TMT as peer groups. Accountability, well, actually, we call it accountability groups, but it's peer groups, because you want to have a peer group that's going to hold you accountable and help you in coming into those type of things. So that, but before that, you know, ASCII, an ASCII group, was in groups there at ASCII group. Then, you know, when I've been doing, the channel company, the exchange events for years and years. And every boardroom that I've led in there, I still get emails, and I still talk with various people from those boardrooms. Is right after there, let's get an email going and doing that. Some of it, you can build your own peer group. You can build your own community. LinkedIn is probably, I would say, is a way to get with folks really, really quick, and like-minded folks who coming into it, what you're trying to find out. I've done there. But it's other ones, Amanda's, you know, the geek guys and others, you know.
Guys and girls, Wayne, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys and girls, you know, absolutely. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I was just giving you a little bit of the gears because it is actually a pretty well represented community. There's all kinds of people in there.
But it's, you know, you start looking and talk to the folks that you get along with, that you do, you know, that you talk with. Who are they in? Who are they dealing with? I have one that I just, another one I just joined from a different perspective, and it was called Provisors, and it's nationwide, but it's made up of, its main group is half of it's over lawyers, another half is financial industry. Well, the reason I joined that was not about MSP, but to learn about those folks, because that's obviously my target market, banks and anything touches a bank. So I'm joining communities that my customers are in also. I think that's a very important thing not to forget, not just communities about what we're doing it for our business on the internal side of it and how we do things and partner and find out this information, but you need to get involved in communities that your customers are involved in. To me, that's very important. Don't forget that.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of what we focus on whenever we talk about peer groups and communities is in person, but there is so much virtually for people who aren't on the road as much, or, you know, just aren't really near where things happen. There are Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Discord, Slacks. I'm sure far too many group texts. There are so many more places than we realize. It's honestly overwhelming trying to make sure that, you know somebody who can get you into wherever you need to be, but crowdsourcing that also, like you said, being resourceful, using who you know and what they know is so important.
Most people just want to share anyway, right? They just want to help.
Yeah.
Then along those lines, do folks find it useful when your vendors have, I'll say like a dedicated community, not necessarily these big events, but like a forum where you could go and ask questions about, hey, how are you using this feature, deploying that, and things of that nature?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I belong to the MSPG community on Slack and Discord, and they have channels for each one of the vendors that engage with them. And that's very helpful. And through those channels, I've discovered the ones that have their own Discords where they'll, put up help if there's an issue that goes right away in there. You can connect directly to engineers on a product. So I think a lot, to Kelsey's point, there's a lot more of that exists out there. And if we go look for it, you'd be surprised of what access you can get in terms of information and assistance on how something works and how something's configured. We just went through a major project where we migrated our PSA, and I don't know what I would have done in some of those moments if I hadn't, had a big place to go, hey, has anybody run into this? And I'm hitting engineers, but I'm also hitting other people that have cut over to the same product that I have, right? So there's a lot of value in the virtual stuff.
Same thing. The communities are extremely important. And, that's the only reason why I'm still a member of the ASCII group, is because that's such a wide and diverse, and a community that's been around for years and years and years.
They hit 40 years this year.
Yeah. And you can pop a question. I can pop out a question out to them, and I get answers from, everywhere. So, but going to a product community where, in Autotask, I've been using Autotask for years and years and years and years. And I use our community because there's a very good nest of information, how I can do things internally to the product, but also go resolve questions. 9 times out of 10, I'll get my problem solved in the community before I get it solved by the support organization. A lot of
Yeah,
bugs.
yeah.
Right. I don't know if you're the same way, but once I
Yeah.
put it there, I won't even open the ticket. I'll just put it there. If someone's done it, go in or do it. I'm not even calling support.
No, because you get an answer right away. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because somebody else
exactly.
has probably run into the problem or had
Yep.
the same thing happen. So, it's that crowdsourcing idea again, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
And I'm going to share out here just in the chat. So if you're interested, since it was an open forum on this, it's a little hard to share it, or I don't think it shares in great format. So I'm gonna type it in here as we're continuing to go through. So if you're interested in that, just check the chat here of some of the groups of channel communities that had answers from that poll question.
Perfect. Now, we can't be here without talking a little bit about ourselves, and actually Wayne has at least been part of bringing people our way and being part of our community since I joined this company 2 years ago. And I know, Amanda, you have what I believe pretty much enjoyed your experience with us. If you'd like to, if you're able to, could you share what made you decide to partner with us as a company?
You want me to go first? I feel like my answer is going to be shorter. It's
Go
the
ahead,
people at
Amanda.
the booth. It solved the problem for us that we were having internally with the product, which, is kind of the beginning of any purchase, right? But the people at the booth made us believe that it wasn't just the product that was going to work out. It was going to be a good relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, those people are all right, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is you have access up and down the folks inside of CyberQP.
Yeah.
I mean, from the top to the bottom, being have the conversations, they're always involved in getting into this. And, I've always been, when I've given CyberQP a lot of challenges and say, okay, here's something that I need, and you need to go off and do this. And it was not something simple, but it was something that's coming into it. Instead of saying, yep, I'm gonna have that right to you, they actually gave me the right answer. Says, okay, we got to do homework on that, and we got to go figure this out, and we're gonna have to test this. That's the right answer.
Yeah.
And this is not going to be an overnight thing, so they didn't try to appease me to say, I'm going to get that for you tomorrow, so I'd move on. It was, let's go do these things and then come back to it. So I always got the right kind of communication every time I've talked with this group, regardless of who I talk to. And Kelsey's just fun to party with.
I concur.
I love a dance floor.
And some karaoke.
And I can't keep up with her. I'm way too old.
I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, thank you. I love it. Excited to party and dance some karaoke the night away with y'all somewhere again soon. We are going to pop a little bit into shifting gears and talk a little bit about the problems that we've helped you solve. Michael, if you'd like to take it away, I can just pop through it. I don't know. Do you want to share your screen?
No, I mean, here, I'll talk through some of these.
Okay.
So this kind of, actually, could you go to the next slide?
Yep.
I'll just talk about it here. So CyberQP has two products. One's called QGuard and QDesk. One's for privileged access management. The other is for help desk automation security. And focusing on QGuard first, just talking about the problems that we help solve, makes me think of a demo I actually had this morning with one of our prospects. It was a smaller MSP shop, and his team was still in a situation where they were using the same password across every single one of their clients. They had it memorized, so they weren't using, a password vault or anything like that. But they knew it was an issue, right? And that's why they came to us, and they're like, hey, we know this isn't best practice, right? We're trying to get away from this. How could you guys help us? And this is where our QGuard product came in, where we're allowing them to not only store those passwords and have them unique per client, but we're able to rotate them on a daily basis. Now, for that small shop, that was a huge improvement from what they were doing, right? They just got away from having the same password. But we also have a newer feature like just-in-time accounts where it's like, okay, as an MSP, you might not go from, for lack of a better term, 0 security to, like level 10 security. You're probably going to take a jump. So they were wanting to take that first jump into password rotations and having unique passwords. But for the MSPs who might be already in that place and they're looking to take the next step forward, CyberQP has these just-in-time accounts where now instead of having a shared password that all your technicians are using that is rotated, you're able to get a unique account per technician, right? Helps you with that auditability, who's logging into a server, who's doing what. If you're sharing a credential, you don't really know, right? You might have to trace back logs and whatnot, and just a huge headache. So with just-in-time accounts, you get those unique accounts per technician, but they're also only activated when needed. So you set timeframes on them, like, hey, I'm going into a server. I just need to create this file share for the accounting department, right? I probably don't need an account that's active for a week. It's a small task, probably take you an hour or even less than that. So you create this account for that 1 hour period. Once that's done, that account's disabled, helps reduce that attack surface there. So now you don't have an account sitting out there active, possible to be brute forced, right? Or for, God forbid, one of your technicians gets phished with those credentials, no problem. The account's deactivated in a short period of time after that. Along the same situation, right? That technician's account did get phished and someone got access, and they went ahead and created their own admin account in your client's environment. Well, we have this privileged account discovery. So we're going to figure out, hey, what's this new admin account that was popping up there, right? We'll send you an email notification. You could start investigating. So all of that's around the QGuard product with privileged access management. Then on the help desk security side, we're really helping MSPs verify their end users or who they actually say they are. A lot of people on the call are probably familiar with the MGM attack. What was it, a few months ago now? Well, what was it, like
the
NGM? Go give him hell about it. But what was it, like a high school or college kid, right? Just called into the help desk, said he was someone he wasn't, and got an admin password and got into all their like cloud infrastructure. So something as simple as verifying it was actually that person could have helped prevent that scenario. And that's what CyberQP does with QDesk, or one of the things. Talked to a lot of MSPs on the day-to-day, and people have processes out there where they're like, hey, we have a number on file. So they call us in and we actually call them back. Or we don't talk to any like individual end user. They have to go to our main point of contact, and then our main point of contact will call us. And, they use that in a combination. You need to make sure it's actually your main point of contact. So they'll call and you call them back. And right, like things like this work, but they're not foolproof. I mean, it's easy to spoof a phone number. Probably a little harder for a callback, but again, it's just adding time to your help desk. So with CyberQP, we're able to send out push notifications through PSA, like Autotask or ConnectWise, or just through our dashboard, where you'll send out a push notification, your end user will receive it, or you can even send an SMS. And then from there, it's actually that person. Speaking of integrations, yeah, so for PSA, a good transition there, Autotask and Manage. But then that same tool will let you, we'll let the end users self-service password reset. So, if they're calling in for your help desk, it's great to make sure it's actually that person, but we could help eliminate those altogether by putting that back in the end user's hand. So for Active Directory, Office 365, or Azure, or Entra, or whatever we're calling it now, as well as local machines, the end user right through a mobile app or through a web app could go and reset those passwords themselves. Then the documentation tool we're seeing here. So I spoke for the first product, QGuard, about rotating passwords. So if you're storing those credentials inside of IT Glue or Hoodoo, you can continue doing that, and we're pushing those password changes into those documentation tools. This way, if you have a specific workflow, it's not being interrupted too much there.
Perfect. We are just about through spending our afternoon with you. I like to make a joke whenever I'm presenting this deck that if you only remember these 4 things after we're done today, then we will have done our jobs. So here are 4 ways CyberQP can help you. We can help generate you more revenue, save you money at the same time, better secure you and your business, and better secure your customers. So with that, here's a QR code that I promise is clean. I know MSPs hate QR codes. I'm not in charge of that sphere of things, but if you'd like to scan this, book a book some time with our technical team to be able to see it in your environment, we'd be happy to chat more with you. If we have any other questions, happy to take those now. Also, just a little plug, would be happy to connect on LinkedIn with anybody. You know, we've always got a lot of good stuff there. Look for the giant green booth at nearly any event you can think of. And yeah, thanks so much for spending your day with us. I don't know if anybody wants to read the chat. I mean, I guess I can open it.
Oh, and then
Hey, Kelsey, so I'm gonna post up a poll here for anyone that is interested, especially if
Okay.
you don't like a QR code, you can always reply to the this just around how are you interested or how interested are you in either of the CyberQP products that that the team just went through there. And so go ahead and answer that here. It just allows us to get interest on that and we will share that with Kelsey and Michael and the team there. So if you answered it here, even if you didn't book a demo, they will know there to be able to prioritize of getting in touch with you on that. And so I see everyone's going through. I did see there was one question. I don't know if it got answered on this. Matthew was asking, Wayne, what was that group you were talking about? Matthew's having some auto task trouble and could use a group like that.
It's if you actually in your Autotask, you can go up to the Autotask community and put it in there. Also, the ASCII group has a whole community on that as well. So either one of those two, that's typically the two that I'll go and hit up.
So I'm curious with it. We don't have any other questions right here, but for both of you, when evaluating the CyberQP product line, how did it stack up against the first question that we had here today on how you evaluate products?
Ooh, I mean, I already said the relationship was great. We were able to roll it out like that. So that's hit number 2. And anytime I've needed support, I've never had a problem. So, I mean, it's pretty much all the things that I said, right?
And along those same lines, I know when we were talking earlier, pretty much the audience and everyone here was saying that partner programs were a big part of your vendor relationship. So CyberQP is aware of that, and we're actually in the process of revamping our partner program. We actually just built out a landing page for pre-registration or early access to be notified. So keeping an eye out for that as well for any partners out there.
And even though when I first started talking with them, they didn't have, you know, a partner program that was not in that portal or something like this, anything that I asked that I would expect in that, if the person I was talking to didn't have the answer, they went and found me somebody that got me the answer. And so they operated in the manner I needed them to operate in as anything I needed that I would expect in a partner program. So if I needed demos, when I come in, I needed to have them to show it multiple times, or come in doing those things. They made all that checklist that I talk about. They were very diligent about getting that. And if they didn't have the answer, they didn't give me a BS answer. They said, I don't know. And that's the right answer. And they got somebody that did have the answer. And, you know, I'd rather someone say, I don't know. I like that, because that they know and they're going to go get somebody who's going to get the answer for me. There's 2 things happen. 1, I know I can trust they're not going to give me BS. 2, they just learned something. So now they can support me better. So there's a lot of gain, as we talk about, both ways. That's what I look for when you, like you was talking about, how do they talk to you, right, Amanda? You know,
Yeah.
how do they answer questions? All that goes into the play. So from the get-go, they've always done that. So
I also like when they follow up the answer with not yet, but here's where it is on the roadmap.
Yep.
And, you know, here's where we see ourselves in beta. This is when we actually think it could be in production. You know, it says a lot about a business. You'd think that everybody has to plan this way or that has this kind of communication, but there's a lot that don't. So when you can't answer with where it might be in the future, that's also a telltale sign for me.
Yeah, I'd say too, just right before we hop off, one thing that we've seen a lot of success in is our partner roundtable meetings, where we have current partners, people who are evaluating, can all get together and not only see what's on the roadmap, but, you know, also voice what's important to them and discuss, ask questions, all of that. So definitely love the crowdsourcing and making sure that everyone is in that line of communication.
Yep.
And just a note that I forgot to mention, you get 10% off our solution when you book through this unique link that is now in the chat and no longer on a QR code. I think that's it for us.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions. Thank you to all of you. This has been a great conversation
Yeah.
here. A lot of great tips for everyone out there. We will be posting this up to the MSP Success website, and we'll send out everyone that was here live on the call and registered a copy of this recording as well. So thanks, everyone, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
See you, Kelsey.
Bye.
Bye.